What is a cloud? A cloud is a combination of networks, hardware, services, storage, and interfaces that helps in delivering computing as a service. What are the main cloud service delivery models? First of all, there's infrastructure as a service, or IaaS for short. Hardware like memory, computing, servers, and so on are rented to companies, and those companies deploy their applications on the cloud provider's infrastructure. Then there's platform as a service, or PaaS. PaaS provides enterprises with a platform where they could deploy their code and applications. The platforms are used for development and testing along with data, storage, and computing capability. And software as a service, or short SaaS. SaaS service providers offer software residing in the cloud, so the software and apps are used on subscription basis, and the cloud provider is responsible for maintenance and upgrade of the software. What are the component layers found in a cloud architecture? The right answer would be Cloud Controller, which sits at the topmost layer and controls virtual resources like servers, network, and storage. VARAS, which acts as a storage controller for users and deals with virtual machine images and user data. Cluster Controller, which controls the execution of all virtual machines stored on the nodes. The Storage Controller, handling storage in block form that is dynamically attached to virtual machines. And the Node Controller, which controls the functionality of the hypervisor that controls virtual machine activities. What are some popular use cases for cloud computing? Here 3 to 4 examples are sufficient. Cloud storage is one example, for instance. With a normal pay-per-use cloud model deployed, customers only pay for the storage they use, and that storage is nearly unlimited. Then there is big data analytics. With resources given by cloud providers, we can easily utilize the computing power to analyze big chunks of data in real time. Apart from that, test and development is also a common use case of clouds, as they provide ready-to-use, customized developing platforms and data backup, which is easier with cloud computing, as it is more efficient and secure than older backup strategies involving physical disks which could get corrupted. What are the different models of deployment available on the cloud? Here we have the public cloud, which is free to use for anyone. The private cloud, which is a collection of resources that private organizations use for their own needs. The community cloud, which allows multiple organizations in a group to access services and systems to share information and computing. And the hybrid cloud, which is a mix of private and public clouds that can switch from one to the other, depending on the conditions and requirements. How can users gain from utility computing? With utility computing, the computing resources are provided on demand, and the service provider charges only for the services actually used, instead of applying a fixed rate, meaning that if we consume less resources like servers and storage, we pay less. What are the benefits of cloud computing? The main benefits of cloud computing are data backup and storage of data, powerful server capabilities, clouds are very cost-effective and time-saving, and there is high data security. Why are APIs used in cloud services? First of all, API stands for Application Programming Interface. It is used in cloud computing because it provides an alternative way that you don't need to write a fully fledged program. It facilitates communication between one or more applications, and it even creates applications and links the cloud services with other systems. What are the security laws which are implemented to secure data in the cloud? Here the right answer would be processing, controlling the data that is being processed correctly, and entirely in an application. File, which manages and controls the information being manipulated in any of the files. Output reconciliation, controlling the data which has to be reconciled from input to output. Input validation, controlling the input data. And security and backup, providing protection and backup, and controlling the security breaches logs. What are the names of some of the top cloud service platforms worldwide? The right answer would be Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, and Oracle Cloud. What do you mean by VPN? What does it contain? VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. A VPN is a service that encrypts your internet traffic to ensure your digital privacy, hide your IP address, and protect your online data from third parties. How would you secure data for transport in cloud computing? During data transport, we should ensure that no one can intercept the data as it moves from one point to the next in the cloud. A virtual private network would be an effective way to manage data security during the transport in a cloud environment. How does cloud computing ensure data security? It ensures it through identity management, controlling access to resources within the organization and managing access privileges for individual network entities to cloud services. Access control, where users are granted permission to decide whether to provide access to another user who has entered the cloud environment, and authentication and authorization, so that only authorized and authenticated users are allowed to access applications and data. What is the difference between RTO and RPO in cloud computing? The recovery time objective is defined by the organization. RTO is the maximum acceptable delay between the interruption and the restoration of the service. The recovery point objective, on the other hand, is the maximum amount of time allowed since the last restoring point. This defines what is considered acceptable data loss between the last restore point and the service interruption. What is AWS Lambda? Lambda is a computing service that runs your code without requiring and managing servers. Each client request will instantiate a new Lambda function. Lambda charges you for only the time when the code was running. What is the use of EUCALYPTUS in cloud computing? EUCALYPTUS is an acronym which stands for Elastic Utility Computing Architecture for linking your program to useful systems. EUCALYPTUS is an open source software infrastructure in cloud computing. It is used to build public, hybrid, and private clouds. What are the main different data types used in cloud computing? Here the answer would be emails, contracts, images, blocks, text, and booleans, as well as decimals, numbers, and also dates. What is the need for virtualization platform to implement the cloud? Virtualization in cloud computing is used to decouple hardware from software, save the costs for components like hardware and servers, as well as maintenance, and store the data in a virtual server. What is Memcached? Memcache is an open source distributed memory caching system. It is a free system that helps to improve the data response time by speeding up dynamic web applications. What are the platforms used for large-scale cloud computing? Here the answer would be Apache Hadoop and MapReduce.